Looking into the Unseen World. By Irving W. Risch. Introduction. In this introduction, I would like to talk about the title of this writing. I believe the title of a book, movie, story, or any writing for that matter, is very important. The title has to be right. Not only should it indicate what the writing is about, but it should bring about some questions at the same time. This title does exactly that. The first thing you see is that this title appears to be an oxymoron, and that brings out the first question. How can you look into a world that is unseen? To answer that question you have to understand how to look at something that is unseen. Have you ever heard the term, two parallel universes? What we will be looking at is something close to that. I prefer to use the term two different realms running together but separated where the visible one can only see into the other if allowed by God. The names of these realms are time and eternity. To make it easy to understand we need to remember that when we were made in God's image we were created eternal beings. That means we are going to exist forever. And this includes every man, woman, and child that ever existed over all times. No matter what time period we choose to go back to we are part of it. We might not have lived during that exact time, but seeing we are part of eternity makes us part of the overall plan of God. From the beginning of creation right on into eternity's future we are all part of God's big plan. History plays a big part in the future of what we see happening at this very moment in time. There are things happening at this very moment that we can't see, that will be a part of the complete picture in the future. This is the way it always has been and will always be. So now you know what I meant when I said the title is so important. I think the best way to start is to take a story from the past and show how things are happening in the unseen world that played a big part in the history of the seen world as we know it. Chapter 1. An unseen event. We are going to go back in history to the year 851 BC, or thereabouts. There was a Hebrew prophet by the name of Elisha who lived during the time when the king of Syria was warring against Israel. The king took counsel with his servants, saying, "At such and such a place shall be my camp." But the man of God, Elisha, sent word to the king of Israel, "Beware that you do not pass this place, for the Syrians are going down there." And the king of Israel sent to the place about which the man of God told him. Thus he used to warn him so that he saved himself the more than once or twice. And the mind of the king of Syria was greatly troubled because of this thing, and called his servants and said to them, "Will you not show me who of us is for the king of Israel?" And one of his servants said, "None, my lord, O king." But Elisha, the prophet who is in Israel, tells the king of Israel their words that you speak in your bedroom. Before going on with this story, take note, what was happening here? God was revealing to Elisha what was going on with the king of Syria. There was nothing being done that God didn't know about. This is a very important fact to remember. There is nothing happening anywhere at any time that God is not aware of. God is never surprised. Now back to our story. Now he, the king of Syria said, "Go and see where he is that I may send and seize him." It was told him, "Behold, he is in Dothan." So he sent the horses and chariots and a great army, and they came by night and surrounded the city. We now have before us the layout for our story. There was something brewing in the unseen world that was going to have a big effect on things in the seen world. If we were only to look at what appeared to be the case, things did not look good for Elisha, and the apprentice that was with him. We are next told, when the servant of the man of God rose early in the morning and went out, behold, an army with horses and chariots was all around the city. And the servant said, "Alas, my master! What shall we do?" He said, "Do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them." What? Someone was looking into the unseen world and was seeing something that the servant of the man of God was not seeing. This required prayer at this point. Then Elisha prayed and said, "O Lord, please open his eyes that he may see." So the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. And when Syrians came down against him, Elisha prayed again, and said, "O Lord, please strike these people with blindness." So he struck them with blindness in accordance with the prayer of Elisha. And Elisha said to them, "This is not the way, and this is not the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom you seek." And he led them to Samaria. At this point in our story, it gets interesting. He takes the entire army of the Syrians into the camp of Israel and delivers them over to their enemy. As the story goes on, it says, "As soon as they entered Samaria, Elisha said, 'O Lord, open the eyes of these men, that they may see.' So the Lord opened their eyes and they saw, and behold they were in the midst of Samaria. As soon as the king of Israel saw them, he said to Elisha, 'My father, shall I strike them down? Shall I strike them down?' He answered, 'You shall not strike them down. Would you strike down those whom you have taken captive with your sword and with your bow? Set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink and go to their master.' So he prepared for them a great feast, and when they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away, and they went to their master. And the Syrians did not come again on raids into the land of Israel." This whole story can be found in the book of 2 Kings chapter 6. I thought this is a good story to start our look into the unseen world all around us. This world existed back then and it exists today as well. These are the two realms that are running side by side. As we have seen in this story, it took a special revelation from God to open Elisha's servant's eyes as well as opening our eyes. This is why the stories we find in Scripture are revelations from God given to us. We can learn many truths about what is going on in our world today. As we move onward, we will be doing exactly that, using Scripture to show what is going on all around us, and hopefully, we will be able to see into the unseen world that is all around us.